do not touch patient. So
evaluating heart rhythm.
It's checking, it's evaluating heart rhythm. So what it does is you don't touch the patient.
Stand by.
No, you touch the patient.
Preparing to shock.
Okay, so if it thinks...
Everyone clear. Press flashing button.
So what it does is, the cycle is very simple. Okay, once you've placed the pads, it always analyzes, okay, or evaluates. If it thinks that there's a shock or no shock, it'll tell you. If it thinks there's a shock, it'll charge the machine, tell you stand by, preparing to shock. Okay, said everyone stand clear, press flashing red button. Okay, so what you do is, even if the machine says everyone stand clear, you one more time say everyone clear. Okay, so you make sure you make everyone aware, because once I press this, if anyone is touching, they'll get shocked as well. Okay, so you say everyone clear and press the button at that moment. Okay, so that's how it is. Once you shock, then it evaluates again. I'll show you what.
Everyone clear. Press flashing button.
So would you like to try? Say everyone clear and then press everyone clear.
Shock delivered.
Okay.
Provide chest compressions and rescue breaths.
Okay, so after the shock was delivered, it said provide chest compressions and rescue breaths. What is this? CPR, right? Yeah, this is CPR. Okay, so what actually this process is that you do you give the shock, and then after every shock you provide CPR. Okay, for about maybe 1 minute. So you provide the compressions and ventilations for 1 minute, but you don't have to time it yourself. The machine itself will tell you when to stop. Okay, it'll tell by itself when to stop when it's evaluating again. Okay, so you finish your 1 minute of CPR, then the machine evaluates. Once it evaluates, again it'll tell you whether there's a shock or no shock needed again. So the same process follows. Okay, so let me continue. Okay,
continue care. Do not touch patient.
Do not touch patient. Okay?
Evaluating heart rhythm.
So again, it's evaluating heart rhythm.
No shock advised. Provide chest compressions and rescue breaths.
So this time, there was no shock advised. Okay? And again, it said provide chest compressions and rescue breaths. So it's the same thing. Whether shock advised or no shock advised, you keep doing CPR. It'll say stop, it'll evaluate, and then it'll shock or no shock. CPR, stop, evaluate, and then it's the same thing over and over again. Okay, so us as members of SCDF are only allowed to give a total of 6 shocks. Okay, but how many do you guys think as members of the public you're allowed to give? One. Okay, anyone else? Any other guesses? Okay, so very good. That's the best answer. Huh? Actually, by right, you are allowed to give as many shocks as you want to. You can just keep giving shocks as long as the machine advises you to give shocks. Okay. So as I mentioned before, it's a very smart machine. So it will not excessively ask you to shock for no reason. It will evaluate the rhythm, and if it thinks that the rhythm is necessary for shock to be given, then it will still advise shocks. Okay. And normally, emergency medical services here in Singapore, like an ambulance, are very fast to reach at a scene. So definitely will not be enough time for you to be able to provide too many shocks to a casualty before the paramedic arrives. Okay. So then, once the paramedic does arrive, there's a few things that you need to do. Okay. The first is you take out this pads and you keep it over here. Okay. You don't remove the pads. Okay. So the reason I said that there's a universal plug is because one pad is one-time use. So it'll make more sense for us if I leave this pad over here and the medic uses the same pads and connects it to her or his AED machine, right? Instead of using a brand new set. Okay. Once that's done, then you switch off the machine. Close. Right. Ask the person who brought this to you to return it back from wherever they got it. Say, can you please go and give this back to whoever you got it from? Tell them that you've used the pads, so they need to replace the pads. And then you tell the paramedic 3 things. You say how you found the casualty, how many shocks you gave to the casualty, and what's the current state of the casualty. Current state meaning, are they showing signs of life? Are they still unconscious? Is anything changed? So you're just giving a brief history so that the paramedic feels a bit more aware of what the situation is like. Okay. So basically that's it. That's how you do AED. It's also very straightforward. Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
We're using the remote control.
Yeah, so
Something.
this is a test set, okay?
Okay.
So this is a test set.
So if you, so all the instruments have the test set or
No. So
it's a
that's
manual
the thing.
operation.
So that's the thing. You know how just now when we pressed the shock button, there was no shock actually, right? Like I mean, maybe some of you were a bit disappointed because you were expecting like a bit of a jump from the casualty, right?
Yeah.
But actually, the thing is that this is a test set, so there's no actual shock administered. And the reason that I have a remote is so I can pause and explain as I go. But in a real life situation, there will be no remote because there's no time to pause. It'll just keep repeating this thing. Okay.